Hello, and welcome to the Connect podcast, a podcast by the Holdrege Area Chamber of Commerce.
Hello, well, how are you guys today?
Doing okay. How are you doing?
Doing really good. Obviously, super excited that you guys are joining us in our small town community and bringing such a big show. Welcome to the Connect podcast. Really, really excited. It's August 14th is your guys' performance here at the Tassel. You've played everywhere from Carnegie Hall to LA Lakers playoff games and even opening for John Batiste, which is incredible to me. I'm a big fan of him. And now you're coming to Holdrege. So I think that's awesome. Welcome to the podcast, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did ARKAI come together as a duo?
Wow. So the infamous story goes that both Philip and I went to the Juilliard school in New York, but we actually didn't meet at school. There was a conference that both of us were nominated to rep the school at. And so it was there where we met, and we actually really connected through a jam session. So there was a party one night after classes, and Philip and I were there. We had our instruments, and we just started to make music. And for people who don't quite know what jamming is, it's essentially like making music up on the spot. And so we were kind of the DJs that night. And then this whole room of other students and collaborators were there, and they started to dance. And, well, over an hour later, we were still going, keeping the party alive. And I think that's where we first heard that magic, that different kind of sound. And so since that moment, we were like, well, we should probably do something with this. And here we are 7 years later, going strong.
That's amazing. You know, it's funny. As musicians, you hear those stories more often than not of a jam session turning into something that lasts a lot longer. And so it's beautiful that that's still a thing, you know. Do you guys still jam? I mean, obviously you guys still have your band stuff, but are you guys still, hosting jam sessions and still getting back to those roots at all?
I would say that the process by which Philip and I write our music, a lot of the time still goes back to improvisation. And so, yeah, the same way that when we met and we created that 1 hour of music, it's still that. It's still the same DNA.
I was a DJ for a long time, and so the amount of people I've connected with just through DJing and just through music is super beautiful. And so I love that. You mentioned Juilliard. I wanted to ask you guys a little bit how your path shifted from something, it's just become something more genre blending and non-traditional. How do you think that got there? Was it your guys' creativity together, or was it one or the other? How did that kind of come to be?
That's such a great question. I think it's a little bit of both. Both Jonathan and I individually, before that first jam session, we had been on our own journeys outside of just the kind of classical path that we were on at Juilliard. And that was how we were ready for the jam, because just for some extra context, the skill of improvisation is not really something that is taught anymore. So to find another classically trained string player who did know how to jam and could kind of let it rip, so to speak, that was really rare. Almost none of our classmates and colleagues were doing that at the time. And so that spoke to the fact that both of us had been exploring that outside, just following our own curiosities, being inspired by other trailblazing string players who had come before us and who had kind of started to open those doors and who were really exciting to us. And so we both went on those journeys. And so when we met, as Jonathan said, even at that very beginning stage, that sound that we had wasn't classical already, right? We were not jamming in the style of Bach or Mozart, right? It was obviously we had those classical chops and the technique honed over years of playing the greats and the classical canon, but we were already pulling in influences from other styles of music, pop, folk, rock, cinematic stuff. And so that was in the DNA even at the very beginning. And then over the years, it's been a process of kind of uncovering more and more of what that can be. And that comes both from a technical perspective, right? As our technique and our musicianship has molded around the sound that we have in our heads. And then also as we've been pulling in more and more tools to be able to realize that. So if anyone listens to any one of our songs that we put out, it's no longer just a violin and the cello. We're using electric strings as well. And then there's also so much stuff going on behind that. The way that we warp and distort or amplify those instruments and then the things that we put underneath them to create a whole soundscape. Those are all things that, as we've continued to pursue this shared vision of a new sound, it's led us in a different direction.
Yeah.
But we could not have gone to without that classical training, I think, right? That was the foundation upon which we built.
So you guys have obviously performed in massive venues, like I said before. What do you think is special about performing in some of these more intimate spaces like Holdrege? And do you approach those performances any differently than these massive stages?
I think for us, a performance is a performance. Like when we go out on stage, we try to give it our all. We try to have a deep connection with the audience. What's really amazing about the intimate performances is that we really feel each and every person in the audience. And sometimes we get to meet each and every person in the audience as well. And that's really special because that really shows us kind of the purpose behind what we do. You know, it's like it really is that beautiful thing, and we can feel the genuine connection that we have with our audiences.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when we're playing at these big venues, it's like you do the performance and then it's like you go backstage and that's about it, and you're like all alone. It's a very weird feeling. I mean, you feel like crazy energy, obviously, when you're up there for the time that you are. But I think Philip and I really love playing in intimate venues because it is so special, and some of the most amazing concerts I think that we've played and also that we've gone to have been those intimate performances.
Just to jump in, there's a funny story kind of related to what Jonathan was saying about the inverse when you're playing in a massive spot. So as you mentioned, we had the opportunity to play at the opening Lakers playoffs game earlier this year. And so we're in the crypto arena in LA, right? Tens of thousands of people, right? It's a big place. And of course, when you're playing in a stadium like that, you have to play using these in-ear monitors, right? Kind of like fancy earbuds, which help block out the sound so that you aren't hearing the 3-second or 6-second echo. So you're like in your own world. And so we're playing the halftime show and the national anthem, and it is so loud in there, but we've got our earbuds in. And so they told us, the people who were watching, they were like, oh yeah, the cheering was so loud, like you couldn't even hear it over the speakers. And for us, we were like, oh, they work? We couldn't. Yeah.
Actually, no, I mean, for me at least, Philip, I think when we were playing that anthem, I couldn't hear anything in the audience. I couldn't hear the cheering, but I could feel the ground.
Yes, you can. Yes.
That was a crazy experience. I mean, just, you know, especially because the anthem is, you know, it's essentially a big ascent, and you get to the climax, and then at the end, everybody, you know, just goes wild. But it was a crazy experience, like only hear ourselves in our ears. And then to feel the ground shake from 25,000
stomping on the ground. So the complete opposite experience of intimate shows, you know, but it is all about the connection with the audience.
One thing I noticed from your guys' bio that really stuck out to me is you're awesome performers, but you're way more than performers. You're also educators and you're advocates. And I know you guys do a lot of collaborations as well. So what do you think drives your work outside of the performances that you do?
Oof, that's a great question. I think both Philip and I always think about the why. Like, why are we doing what we're doing? And I speak for myself. I think Philip would agree. It's like, for us, a big part is inspiring people, connecting with people, showing maybe a new generation of musicians what is possible. And I think that's really what drives our work. And so no matter what it is, whether it is education workshops for young folks, or it's going out into the community and bringing inspiring music to hopefully, you know, uplift the communities during difficult times, whatever it is, music is kind of the language, the tool by which we go about doing these things. And it really is a powerful one because it really is universal. We've traveled all over the world, and the fact that we're able to have these deep connections with people, even if we can't speak the same verbal language, we still have this deep connection with people. I don't think we take that for granted. And so we're always trying to find ways of using this God-given, like, gift, honestly, it really is, to go out there and to hopefully connect with people and make their lives better.
No, that's the most important thing, honestly. I love that perspective of music too. It really is a universal language. I know you guys have worked with, you know, Olympians and Cirque du Soleil and really global artists. How did some of those collaborations come together?
Each one is kind of its own wild story. The one you mentioned in particular was one of the strangest performances that we've ever done. That was just to give the Spark Notes version. That was for an event in Milan as part of Milan Design Week, where, again, through a series of relationships and previous events and connections, we had developed a relationship with the American photographer David LaChapelle, who's done incredible portraiture of some of the most iconic people in history: Elton John, Michael Jackson, folks like those. And he had been commissioned by Mercedes-Maybach to do an event for Milan Design Week, where he had photographed some of their very nice cars. And so this event was bringing one of those photographs to life. And so there, as you said, there we were with Olympic athletes, Cirque du Soleil performers, dancers, and we were there, and to your question, trying to figure out, where do we fit into all this, right? It's like we have a very specific kind of sound, a specific aesthetic, and so where do we fit in? And similar to that first jam, it's all about playing by ear and adapting to the moment and bringing the whole set of skills that you have. This can be its own entire conversation, but we're all about versatility nowadays, right? And that's something we preach to young people, to young artists, is it's all about having a diverse set of skills so that you can pivot on a dime. And if the plans change, you can adapt to that. So for every collaboration, it's figuring out, okay, here we are. What can we best offer in service of this? What are the other people offering as well? And then how do we just play ball with them? And so it just ended up, worked out that collaborating with those folks, it turned into our music is the soundtrack to this 10-minute extravaganza of different arts. And so we, worked on the fly. We were making custom arrangements of the music to serve the overall collaborative vision. And I think it was pretty sick.
That's amazing. One thing you mentioned was the younger people, One thing I'm really passionate about, I'm a father, so it's part of that. And also I just want to inspire the next generation of business owners and also musicians. What advice would you give to young creatives, especially those who maybe feel like outsiders of their own genre or even outsiders of their own town?
Oh, wow. We could talk about this for hours. I would just dare them to dream as big as possible and to really not hold back. In this day and age, we need people that are thinking outside of the box. We need people that are breaking barriers and doing their own thing, creating something new. And in order to do that, you have to kind of follow your curiosities, follow the things that really make you passionate, really, and to go and do like a deep dive and maybe, figure it out, and bring things together that otherwise might not have come together without you. And I think that's been the story of our lives. Like, if you asked us maybe 7 years ago whether we would be like doing this and playing this kind of music and touring the world and doing, absolutely not. But I think we credit our journeys and the curiosities, the difficult moments where we were looking in the mirror and asking ourselves, what are we meant to do in this life? How are we supposed to use our art? Those difficult moments really, I would say, make us who we are. And it gives clarity to the journey. And I would just encourage people to be fearless. We need more young people who are shattering preconceptions.
You talk to too many people who are just checking the boxes, and so it's so true. You don't innovate, you don't create really by checking boxes. Through a little bit of research, I know you guys have a new album.
We're actually going to be teasing the album when we come out to you all.
Some of the first people in the world to hear this music.
Yeah, truly.
That's amazing. What was the new album called?
Bright Side. It's going to come out a week after it's coming out it's coming out the 22nd.
That's great.
August. We've dropped 2 singles so far, so you can go and see our singles on YouTube or on Spotify, wherever. We have a couple sick music videos with those. So yeah, check those out on YouTube.
That's amazing. What can listeners expect from this album?
Well, just like you said, there's no single bucket that can contain the kind of music that we make. And so the two
Yeah.
singles are two kinds of sounds, but for people who know us already, they can expect we've doubled down on everything that makes us us, right? So I think it's even more bold. It's even more confident. We're pulling inspiration from even more genre directions and influences. And for people who don't know us, I think, expect to go on a massive journey. Our music is, and I'll say our albums are best experience if you can listen to the whole thing. We really spent a lot of time kind of curating that journey that you go from one track to the next.
With a good sound system or headphones, or something like not your phone speaker, please.
But just to put some little teasers out there, I think we would say that if you enjoy anything from classical music to film scores to R&B to contemporary pop to world music to EDM, I think there's bits of that DNA throughout the record, which sounds completely bonkers because it kind of is. But we think it's really cool and it all works together. And so we're so excited. I think it's the kind of apex of work that we put out so far. We really poured our hearts and souls into this.
Oh, I cannot wait. Based on that description, I don't think that this is something people can miss. That is a wild description of different genres all mixed into one project. So very excited for that. Well, what is next? Obviously, you've got this album coming out. Do you guys plan any collaborations or ideas, or maybe a tour in the future? Are you guys planning anything in the works we could follow?
Yeah, absolutely. So the album's the big thing, and with that, we have an album release tour. You guys you're on the album release tour, which is awesome. Yeah, but we're going to be taking that around the country, and then we have a collaboration, kind of like this ongoing collaboration with this awesome pianist. His name is Tony Ann. We have a couple tracks released with him. He's a big deal. Millions of followers, across the globe. And we've been touring internationally with them. And then, so we're going to be going to Asia with Tony in October, where we get to essentially open for him, and then we get to perform with him on stage. And so we're really excited about that because it's our first time performing in Asia.
Oh, that's so fun. Well, thank you both, Jonathan and Philip, for sitting down with me and chatting not only about ARKAI and all the amazing things that you guys have been involved in, but also how special it is for you guys to join our community here in Holdrege. We're really excited to have you here to the community. Make sure you guys come out and support, grab a ticket, whether that's a season ticket or just a ticket to this ARKAI show. It's August 14th. We can't wait to see you there. I can't wait to see you next week on the Connect podcast. Thanks so much.